What is going on, Trash Talkers? We are back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to give you our predictions for Week 4 in the NFL. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, before we get into today's video, be sure to hit that subscribe button and like the video as it will help us out tremendously. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video. All right, Nick, Week 4 is here, and we have a lot to get to, starting with Thursday Night Football. Nick, why don't you break it down for us? Dolphins at Bengals. Who do you got and why?
Yeah, we got a big game right here. The Miami Dolphins undefeated after taking on the Buffalo Bills, taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, who are looking much better after that bad loss to the Dallas Cowboys. This should be a very interesting matchup. And with this game being in Cincinnati, they are the favorites. I really don't see it that way. I think Miami is the better team. There's nothing in this Bengals secondary that's going to stop Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. I don't think that the Bengals offense will be able to keep up in this shootout, and I will be taking the Miami Dolphins, and I'll be taking them at their money line.
Next up, we have the Minnesota Vikings taking on the New Orleans Saints. Now, the Minnesota Vikings come into this one as 3-point favorites. We see the total points at 44. The Minnesota Vikings know how to put up points, but they have struggled in recent weeks. It looks like they sent the house against the Green Bay Packers to make a statement in Week 1, and they have struggled since then. But coming back in a late victory over the Detroit Lions really helped their psyche and their morale. I believe that they're going to bring that momentum into this game, where the New Orleans Saints have just been absolutely pathetic all year long. They have not gotten anything going. We saw a big production from Chris Olave, the rookie wide receiver. Michael Thomas not really getting into the mix. Alvin Kamara not getting into the mix. We need to see more from Jameis Winston. I know he's hurting right now, but the fact remains that this offense needs to produce a lot more, because with the talent that they have on the defensive side of the ball, this is a team that should be leading not only their division, but possibly the entire conference. This is a New Orleans Saints team that has truly underperformed right now, and they need to get going. As 3-point underdogs at home, they should take that as an absolute slight and come out ready to do work. Unfortunately, my money is with the Minnesota Vikings. I'm taking the Vikings in this one.
Next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Jacksonville Jaguars have looked much better this year with Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence looking very comfortable under center and really able to get this offense going. Jalen Hurts on the other side, getting everybody going, looks incredible himself, and this team overall looks unstoppable. They are probably the best team in the NFL as it stands. The Jaguars offense will need to come out and be strong in this matchup for it to be close, but I don't see it that way. The Eagles defense is too strong. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to be at home, and that's just going to be too much. I'll be taking the Philadelphia Eagles to win, and I'll be taking them at their spread as well.
Next up, we have the Buffalo Bills taking on the Baltimore Ravens in the great state of Maryland. The Buffalo Bills coming off of that narrow loss to the Miami Dolphins, ruining their undefeated season. But the Bills have some hope, as they were missing a lot of pieces defensively. Hopefully they can get them back. It's looking like Jordan Poyer might be able to play in this upcoming game. They're going to need every possible person in this game, because Lamar Jackson put on an absolute show in New England last week. He was absolutely phenomenal, running the ball, passing the ball. He was extremely efficient. He did have a few turnovers, but that's to be expected. Now sitting at home with Mark Andrews fully in the mix, and this offense getting J.K. Dobbins back in here. We saw Devin Duvernay really getting into it as well. I believe that Rashad Bateman and company are going to be able to really stretch the defense. The Bills' final game without Tre'Davious White is going to be a tough one. I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills in this one by a narrow margin, but Lamar Jackson can surprise people, but that's why I would take the Baltimore Ravens +4.
Next up, we have the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Houston Texans. Now, this one shouldn't even be close. The Los Angeles Chargers have not looked the best so far. Herbert dealing with the rib injury, but the Houston Texans are just plain bad on both sides of the ball. Davis Mills really not doing anything with Brandon Cooks. Nico Collins is actually looking like the better receiver so far this year. The running game really isn't there, and the secondary for the Houston Texans is just getting torched. Even with top 3 pick Derek Stingley in that secondary, they're just not able to do anything. everything. And when you look at the Chargers, Keenan Allen potentially coming back in this one, Mike Williams will be there. The deep balls will be flying and flying frequently with Justin Herbert. I just don't see the Houston Texans having a shot in this one, and I'll be taking the Chargers.
Next up, we have the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Detroit Lions. And if you guys paid attention to our power rankings earlier in the week, you saw that the Seattle Seahawks were the worst team in the NFL in our estimation. While the Detroit Lions are on the rise, they are moving up the ladder. And the Detroit Lions have really shown that they can score with the best of them and they can defend extremely well. As they get healthier on the defensive side of the ball, they're going to be a juggernaut to be dealt with. And the fact remains that Dan Campbell has the Detroit Lions really humming on all cylinders. I like the Detroit Lions in this game. Not much to like about the Seattle Seahawks. I'm taking the Detroit Lions pretty easily.
Up next, we have the Tennessee Titans taking on the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts got a big victory over the Chiefs for their first win of the season, and so did the Titans when they beat the Las Vegas Raiders. Both these teams now looking for their second win, and a big divisional win at that. The Indianapolis Colts, I think, being at home, having Jonathan Taylor, and looking at this Titans defense, should have a big day. I think the run game will be strong, and I don't think that we're going to see the Titans offense being able to do what they did against the Las Vegas Raiders. The Indianapolis Colts, much better on defense, know this offense all too well, and will be able to stop Derrick Henry from getting any steam going. To me, the Indianapolis Colts will continue that push at home and get their second straight victory.
Next up, we have the Cleveland Browns taking on the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons have started to get Kyle Pitts into the mix, which has opened up their offense a little bit, but they need to see more from Cordero Patterson. They need to see more from Drake London. This whole offense needs to really get going. I believe they have what it takes to really score points against the Cleveland Browns, but this is a tough Browns defense, and when you have Myles Garrett and possibly Jadeveon Clowney back, this is a team that can really get after the opposing quarterback, and Marcus Mariota is going to be under constant pressure. Denzel Ward is not a guy you want to test too often. So when you take a look at the Cleveland Browns, this defense is going to keep them in the mix. Jacoby Brissett did a really good job on Thursday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that he has what it takes to really get things going. We saw Amari Cooper really break out of his shell and have his first really solid performance with the Cleveland Browns, and I expect that to continue. David Njoku is one of those guys that you really want to get after. I believe that the Cleveland Browns will win this game handily.
Next up, we have the New York Jets taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The one thing these teams have in common, they both have a win over the Cincinnati Bengals, but these teams have just not been playing well at all this season. And for them to be playing each other is just a plain travesty because it's not going to be fun to watch. Nonetheless, the New York Jets have been able to get the ball moving with Joe Flacco. He should be able to work on this secondary. Minkah Fitzpatrick really being the only guy on this defense that is scaring anybody. And then when you look at the Pittsburgh offense, Najee Harris really hasn't done too much. Deontay and Chase Claypool struggling to get anything really going with Mitch Trubisky. It's not a very good Jets defense, but I don't see this offense picking up. It's going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be close to the end, but I will be taking the New York Jets to squeak by the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Wow, what a game. And moving on to a division rivalry that we really don't want to see, but we have it on the schedule. The Washington Commanders taking on the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are currently led by Cooper Rush because of Dak Prescott's injury, meaning that we have Cooper Rush versus Carson Wentz. What a game. Can't wait to watch that one. Well, the Washington Commanders gave up 9 sacks last week to the Philadelphia Eagles, and now they have Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence coming to town. It's not going to be a pretty day again for this Washington Commanders offense. If they can start getting things going in the passing game, it's going to start with Terry McLaurin. Getting Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel into the mix is a must-have, and on top of that, you got to see more from the tight end. You got to have Logan Thomas really in the mix here. Antonio Gibson has been a touchdown guy, but that's pretty much it. At the end of the day, they need more from their running game as well. There's a whole litany of issues with the Washington Commanders on offense, but they are held together by their defense, and that is what keeps them in games. If they can limit Cooper Rush in this CeeDee Lamb-led offense, it'll be very interesting because we have Ezekiel Elliott, who has not been the star performer that we have been accustomed to knowing. We have Tony Pollard, who has really started to break out of his shell. I think that the Cowboys have a lot of momentum coming into this one, and they're going to get the victory over the Washington Commanders.
Up next, we have the Chicago Bears taking on the New York Giants. The Giants looking much better than the Chicago Bears, and Justin Fields, even though they got a win last week, looked terrible and even said himself that he played like trash. It's not a good game for Justin Fields. This is a strong Giants defense, and they're getting stronger. We saw Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari come back and make their season debuts last week against the Cowboys. They're just getting started. They're going to add to the strength of this defense, and I don't think the Bears and Justin Fields are going to have any chance. I will be taking the Giants over the Bears in this Week 4 matchup.
Next up, we have the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Carolina Panthers. The Arizona Cardinals are treading water until they get their superstar DeAndre Hopkins back, but they've still been able to squeak out a couple of wins. On top of that, the Carolina Panthers are led by Baker Mayfield. This is a team where you're looking at two former Oklahoma quarterbacks, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield. This is going to be an interesting game. I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals in this one. I think Cliff Kingsbury is going to do just enough to keep the Panthers defense on their heels, and they're going to have a lot of motion, a lot of movement. Christian McCaffrey is going to get his, but outside of that, we need to see more from Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore if the Panthers have any shot of being in this game.
Next up, we have the New England Patriots taking on the Green Bay Packers. Now, with Mac Jones being out of this game, Brian Hoyer taking over under center, we already see the spread at 10.5. I don't think that the Patriots are going to have a shot. Just like Vegas predicts, the Green Bay Packers are the stronger team. Being at home, Aaron Rodgers is going to find the holes in this zone-heavy defense, and he's going to be able to put up quite a few points more than Brian Hoyer will be able to do. I like the Packers in this one.
Speaking of Vegas, we have the Broncos taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders remain the only winless team in the NFL at 0-3. The Denver Broncos have not looked much better at all, squeaking victories by. Russell Wilson has not been Mr. Unlimited like he was in Seattle, and this offense under Nathaniel Hackett has not looked promising at all. If they can get things going with Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and company, they will have a shot, but it will have to come at the expense of Chandler Jones finally getting onto the board and Max Crosby being the game wrecker that he is. They are going to have to deal with those two bookends on top of the strength of this defense being on the back end. I believe that the Las Vegas Raiders have a shot at this one. They should be able to beat out the Denver Broncos. This is their final game. If they cannot get a victory, Josh McDaniels will be on the extremely, extremely hot seat for his job 4 games into his rookie season as their head coach.
And for our Sunday night game, we have the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady looking to revenge that loss from last week. Now getting Mike Evans back, possibly Chris Godwin coming back as well. It's going to really be necessary when taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, who barely lost to the Indianapolis Colts, but besides that game, looked fantastic in weeks 1 and 2. They're looking to get back to that. Travis Kelce needs to be a pillar in this one. CEH has looked really strong this season. It's really going to come down to which offense is going to play stronger in this one, and I think that Tom Brady is Mr. Clutch. He'll be able to pull it out in the end, but this will be a fantastic game. I do like the Buccaneers in this one.
For our final matchup of week 4, we have our Monday night football game, the Los Angeles Rams taking on the San Francisco 49ers, an NFC West divisional matchup, a game that usually is a slugfest. These two defenses usually going at it. I believe that the Los Angeles Rams are one of those teams where you cannot count them out. Allen Robinson needs to be more consistent in his production in this offense. We know what Cooper Kupp can do. Cam Akers really started getting into the mix. We saw Darrell Henderson be that guy that we know him to be. This is an offense that has the potential to skyrocket at any point in time. It will have to come with Nick Bosa breathing down their defense. With this 49ers defense, they can hold opposing offenses to minimal yardage and minimal points, but they need to see more from Jimmy Garoppolo taking over for Trey Lance in this offense. It seems to me that they have gone to a different playbook than they were using with Trey Lance simply because of the lack of mobility. But if you go back to the game where Jimmy Garoppolo had to take over for Trey Lance, before they made that switch, he was actually completing passes at a higher yardage and completion percentage than any other quarterback in the NFL. They switch playbooks and all of a sudden that offense is gone and they become anemic at best. The 49ers really need to figure this out right now, and I believe that the Los Angeles Rams have the upside in this one. I'm taking the Rams to beat the 49ers on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Rams are the stronger team, and I don't like what I'm seeing from Jimmy G. This should be a good game because it's a divisional matchup, but I do like the Rams.
All right, well, I want to hear from you guys. Let us know in the comments down below what you think is going to happen this week. Which games did we get right? Which games did we get wrong? Let us know in the comments down below. All right, well, that's going to be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.